How to fillet a snapper. Okay, here you've got a little baby that I got in Sullivan's Bay. Using a whole lot of newspaper is always a good idea because there's little bits that go flying everywhere, and you know, the boss in the house might not like all the little bits flying around. So anyway, it's the easiest way to clean it up. So we start with an incision over here. You can actually start where you feel the flesh becoming softer. You can hear there's a bony bit there, so you just identify it and you just go slightly over it and you make your incision. This is so that we don't waste any good stuff. Alright, so once you've done your first cut, you just slowly work your way down to the bottom, and not a big deep cut, just the edge of the knife, just to break the skin there in and create a track for you to go down. Alright, so now that you've got your track set, we go in again. This time we just go a bit deeper. What I find helps is if you actually lift the skin up like this, meat, and you'll see there the bony bit being exposed. And what the whole idea is you want to get your knife on those bones so you don't actually miss out on any of the good meat. So it's always a good idea to work with the scales and with the way the fins are pointing, because coming up this way you're sure to spike yourself with these bad boys in the fingers, and that could be quite painful and unnecessary. Anyway, so here we go. On the bones. So if I can give you guys a sneak peek as to what we did. Here's your line of bones. There's the meat at the top. Alright, and you work your way down to the main middle center bone of the fish. Alright, there's the main center bone, as you guys can see. Alright. Alright. Now some people like to actually put the knife through all the way and cut the whole fillet off. But the fact is you actually do leave quite a lot of fish fillet on the bones if you do it from here, because the central line bone lifts your knife up into the air and you can't get a really clean cut at the bottom. So what we do is you carefully start working the other side. Over that bony hump. Alright. So there you guys can see we've just gone over the hump and getting all the good stuff on the other side as well. When you fillet your fish, it's a good idea if you're starting out filleting your fish to go slowly. No need to look like an expert and try and go at a hell of a pace. You're just gonna upset yourself by wasting a whole lot of fish. Alright, so now the other tricky bit. The snapper has not been gutted, as you guys can see. Now there's a lot of different thoughts about that. It is easier to fillet your snapper if you've gutted it. The main reason it's easier is you don't want the guts to get onto the meat, because the snapper's guts contain a whole lot of bacteria that could be bad for you and the meat. Alright. Anyhow, so So here we go. When you get to the stomach cavity, you can imagine it like a ball, and you have to actually work the meat around that ball. You'll hear some little bones crunching. It's a sign that you're doing it right. There are some big thick bones in there as well, but you don't want to hear them crunching because they're the main cavity bones. So you guys can see, going around the stomach cavity. See here, it's actually tearing a little bit, so that's how careful you've got to be when you're working around this area. And you just cut your fillet off. Alright, so there's your first fillets. Okay, now if we look at the damage, you can see here we've got a nice clean cut. Most of the bones are fully exposed and no meat wasted. Around the stomach cavity area, you can see here's the cavity itself. It does look quite meaty here, but it is actually quite a little thin area before you actually get into the stomach. So yeah, you could, if you cut your fish, this little area here, the back is also very nice to actually eat, but you don't actually want to risk cutting into this and the stomach at the same time and contaminating the meat in that area. So that's why it's actually a better idea to first cut your fish before you fillet it. Right, let's do the other side. Here's your fish, there's the hard part, you can see it and feel it there with the knife. There's the softer part next to it, just below this fin. Go in. Here's your first cut. Okay, and at this point the snap has completely dulled this knife. So now it's time for a quick knife sharpening.